Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishnah Beitza, Perek Gimel, Chapter 3, Mishnah Vav, Mishnah 6. Okay. It is forbidden to conduct business on Shabbos and Yontif, right? Can't conduct business on Shabbos and Yontif. Now, here in the notes, they explain this prohibition is mentioned in the book of Nehemiah, where the prophet criticizes the people for treating the Shabbos as a market day. Rashi provides two reasons for this prohibition. Now, again, it's a rabbinic prohibition. Scripture commands us to honor Shabbos and Yontif in both our actions and our speech, and this requires us not to conduct or even discuss business matters on the holy days. That's number one. So, meaning it's not appropriate for the spirit of the day, and therefore no business transactions, no discussion of business. Number two, the sages were concerned that conducting business might lead a person to write records of his dealings, which is forbidden on Shabbos and holidays. We're afraid you're going to come to write down, the business deal that you did. And therefore, this is why the sages said you cannot conduct business on Yontif. However, it is permitted, subject to certain conditions, to buy food needed for that day on Yontif, as long as there is no exchange of money or its equivalent on Shabbos or Yom Tov itself. It's possible to buy food. You need food for Shabbos, you need food for Yom Tov. It is possible that you could buy the food on Shabbos or Yom Tov under certain conditions, but no exchange of money, or any kind of payment. Now, the Mishnah. So now let's read the Mishnah. Ein nimnin ala behema lachatchila b'Yom Tov. A group may not be formed initially on Yontif to buy an animal. Meaning, in order to buy an animal, they needed enough money to buy it. So a group of people would get together, and they would form this group, and they would make up how much each one would pay for the animal. He would pay, either they split it up evenly and pay evenly, whatever. They made up how much each one would pay, and like that, they were able to go ahead and form a group. And that's what they would do. So we say this kind of group you cannot do on Yontif for Shabbos. And as they explain here, although the sages permitted buying an animal for meat on Yontif, they did so only when money is not mentioned. That's the issue. In a typical way of making a group, the people get together and they make up, okay, we're going to buy this animal. Each one is going to pay X amount. That's the problem. Mentioning money is where the problem comes out. So they give an example here. For example, 3 people may not say, let us buy this animal for 3 zuz, and each of us will pay 1 zuz. Right? They mention how much each one's going to pay. Okay? So we say that because you're setting a price, that is the problem on Yontif. Aval, however, nimnin maleha me'erev Yontif, you can form a group before Yontif, v'shoichaten u'machalkin beinehem, and they slaughter and divide it amongst themselves. So what this really means is that what they're doing is they're forming a group. On Yontif, they are shechting and dividing, but no one's talking money. No one's talking money. So basically, if you took half the animal and you took a quarter of the animal and you took this amount of the animal, that's how much you take. And it's understood. And after Yontif, they're going to deal with how much each person has to pay. But the point is, you can make the group as long as you are not setting a price. And truthfully, even though the Mishnah says you can do it, you make the group from before Yontif. On the bottom, they bring down here, you can even do it on Yontif. You can make the group on Yontif. Just that you agree to divide the animal in a certain way without mentioning money. That would be the way that you could do this group purchase of the meat on Shabbos or Yontif, but just don't mention any money. Now, next halacha. Rabbi Yehuda says, Shoikel Adam Basar Keneged Hakli, Keneged Hakupitz. A person can weigh meat against a vessel or against a kupitz. A kupitz, they translate as a cleaver. Now, typically, the way they used to weigh meat was they had this scale, with the 2 pans, right? You put the meat on one side, you put a weight on the other side, and when they balance, that's how you figure out how much meat is being purchased, how much is being purchased. So Yehuda says you can't do that on when you're purchasing the meat. You cannot do that. You cannot weigh it regularly on Yontif. Just 1 second. Hold on. Okay, so here it's Yontif. You're going ahead and you want to buy the meat. You want to figure out how much. So according to Yehuda, it is not muktzah. It's not muktzah. And you want this, that you have to make sure that you don't do it in a regular fashion, right? Do it using a scale would be considered, using a scale regularly. The problem using a scale is that it's weekday activity. And therefore, you can't use it because of that reason. Now, maybe after that reason, it become muktzah, but essentially, if there would be an ability to use it, would it be muktzah? Just that the question is, how do you use it? And according to Rabbi Yehuda, you don't weigh it regularly. Don't weigh it against the weight. Weigh it against something else. Take a vessel, weigh it, meaning put it on the other side of the scale. You'll know that the meat was as weighed as much as the utensil. Then after Yontif, you'll weigh the utensil to see how much it was. You'll figure out after Yontif what it was. But you can do some kind of form of weighing as long as you're doing it in a not usual way. Okay, that means that then the scale has a usage, and therefore you could use it in that manner. The Chachamim say, "Ein mashkich b'chaf ma'isayim kol iker." Literally translated, that means we pay no attention to a scale on Yontif whatsoever. That means there is no using the scale no matter what. Even to use it in an unusual manner, Rabbi Yehuda says you cannot do that. Not only that, the fact that it says, the Mishnah says kol iker at all, and that adding that kind of wording means to include the following case. Let's say you don't even want to weigh anything on the scale, but you've got this meat and you want to put it up high because of mice. So you want to put it up high. The scale was hanging high. It was hanging off. It was hanging above the ground. So you just want to put it on this meat on the scale just to keep it there, away from the critters. The Chabim say you cannot even do that. We don't want you using a scale whatsoever. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
No measuring.
So